Oh, I guess. Oh, hi guys. So the music's gone down a little bit, so now I guess you can hear me. That's very nice. I appreciate that. It's been a wild week. I'm glad you guys are out there. I'm back. See, that's where we're testing you. We're testing you to see if you are paying attention to what's going on. Okay. However, we have a lot of stuff coming in. We got some guys who are going to talk to you about all the stuff that's happening. I am still invested in West Wing, so I don't really know what's going on. I decided to immerse myself in that for the next couple of weeks, and then I'll be able to face reality. So, I did, however, listen to this radio program that was very fascinating. It was about chaos theory and the fact that we're almost invested in like that. Really, there is no choices we have. That we actually are basically just being pushed along by chaos and certain things. Like if something happens, our lives are changed. We don't even have any choice over that. So it's like, this whole election was basically chaos theory at its maximum. So it's sort of like, everything else is going to go bad, but we'll still have Starbucks still in the corner operating for some reason. Oh, we're back. Oh, music. Oh, okay. I guess I got to go again. How quiet now? That's chaos theory right there. Okay. But now we're going to get our MC and host, Mr. Mark Sweetman, at the, of course, off night. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Did you ever take a journalism class?
Me, I took one, maybe two. I actually got an award for a article I wrote in the Spectrum out in North Dakota State University. They sent me as my reward. I got a thesaurus.
NDSU?
North Dakota State University, yes.
In the zoo.
You. The bison.
All right, let's get Susan out here because she always leads us off with a poem. And Sam gave us another topic that we can add, but let's get Susan's poem in here. Here she is.
Hi.
Hello, Susan Salisbury.
Happy February.
Hey, it's great to be back.
Happy February.
It's February. Can you believe it?
No, I can't.
You guys are talking about basketball before the show, but I start thinking baseball in February. Pitchers are going to report to spring training February. Spring is coming.
It's like 8 days after the I think it's 8 days after the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's the 9th, so on the 17th they'll be reporting. Pitchers and catchers only. So
Yep.
Anyway, you want to do our poem?
Sure, I'll do the poem.
And then we will get on with our show.
Here you go. Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow, handlers say. That means 6 more weeks of winter is coming our way. Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles head for the spotlight because Super Bowl festivities kicked off in New Orleans tonight. In Milwaukee, ICE detained a mother, a toddler, and family. They were speaking Spanish. Racial profiling calamity. Protesters block Southern California's 101. I can hear ya. Plus multiple plane crashes and a car bomb in Syria. Tariffs announced and other cluster kerfuffles. Air traffic control staff cuts. Was it a Trump-ordered shuffle? 90% of U.S. airport towers are understaffed, data shows. Can't wait 4 more years for this administration to close. And that's your poem.
Yeah. Nice poem. So there's North Dakota State.
There you go.
The Fighting Bison.
Can't hear you, Mark.
I'm sorry.
The Fighting Bison, Mark.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, I put myself on mute because Colleen walked in. I want to make sure that she was
that
doing
would be
the proper,
our daughter.
Our daughter, Colleen. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to put you on the spot here because of the talent you have. There was a line that Sam had added to our news headlines, and that was that the Dallas Mavericks pulled off the worst trade ever in the NBA when they traded 25-year-old Luka Doncic to the Lakers for 32-year-old. All right, I got to bring Sam on. I forgot his name.
Hillbilly Mall.
Who's on the injured list all the time?
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis. So go ahead if you can come up with something like for that, you can pop in here again or text it off to us, and we'll make sure that part
Off injured.
gets in. Off injured.
Correct.
Correct.
Luchuk and Davis is really a joke. The whole
It's not
sports
it's not a
world is
joke.
going up in smoke. What are
No,
the
no.
names?
No,
Luka
that was
Doncic.
good. Dallas wanted to get rid of Doncic because
Don-
he has a terrible
Luka
attitude.
Doncic and Davis.
Yeah, Doncic and Davis. It's a law firm.
Doncic and Davis are a sports world joke.
I guess if they were female basketball players, we'd be taking more seriously, wouldn't we, Susan? Mm.
All right.
All right. I'm thinking baseball because
I'm
it's
hot for Becky
February.
Hammond.
Spring training. We're going to have opening day before you know it. About the end of Puxatawny Phil's winter.
Now, did you hear
Overpaid tobacco chewing slugs.
Did you hear who we signed today, Susan?
For the Tigers?
Yeah.
No, I have a full-time job.
Ooh.
I don't.
So therefore you can't focus. So you can't focus on anything else.
So
Ooh.
why don't you tell us?
Jack Flaherty.
Okay.
Jack Flaherty.
Jack Flaherty. The reason that's interesting was we traded him on the deadline last season, and we picked up our starting shortstop and our number one AAA catcher, and he pitched them. Well, he did a great job for him in the regular season. Pitched them into the World Series and the first two series for playoffs, but he didn't do so well in the World Series. But it didn't matter. The Dodgers won 5-1. They weren't going to lose that series, so his one flub was in the World Series.
Are they overloaded?
The Dodgers?
Yeah.
The Dodgers are like the Yankees. There is no salary cap. They could the two biggest markets can go crazy if they want to. And then what's his name? Shohei Ohtani, his $170 million a year, whatever he's making, he's only getting a paycheck for $2 million. He wants them to so that they can stay under the salary cap. He worked out his deal. He's getting paid $2 million a year, and then the rest of the $170 million a year he's supposed to be getting comes after he leaves the Dodgers.
Poor poverty-stricken bastard.
Yeah. I know. I mean, but the thing is, I would think as that number keeps growing year after year after year, it's going to be hard to go through spring training every spring. Yeah, I love the game, but hey, how about I coach my kids or something? That type of thing.
See, and I got you to talk about baseball. Yay!
Yay! Susan's favorite game.
Do they still sell baseball cards?
Yeah. But you know what? They don't sell them like they did when we were kids. They used to sell them in cigarette packs or bubble gum, right?
Bubble gum, yeah. We used to get them in
and you would get a card when you bought a pack of gum. Then it was you got a stick of gum when you bought a pack of cards. They just flipped it around.
If you chew that bubble gum, okay, get your affairs in order.
Well, I haven't done it since I was a kid, but now. If you want to buy cards, you buy the whole set, a whole box set. The thing weighs about 14 pounds, and the Amazon driver delivers it, leaves it on your porch. That's not the same as when I was a kid. Man, we would play marbles to try to win somebody's cards, or
And when I was a kid, we would take the card and stick it on our bicycle wheel.
To make the motorized sound on your
right, make that bagada sound.
But it wasn't. You didn't put Joe DiMaggio or Mickey Mantle on that bike. You were putting. I couldn't even tell you the
Joe
names.
Joe
Beludowicz.
Yeah. Mark, you have to understand. I rooted for the Washington Senators. I was thrilled. I was thrilled to have Roy Sievers on my bike.
Who was the guy that we hated from Washington?
Say that again.
I'm trying to think when I was a kid who we hated from Washington.
I have no idea.
Eddie Brinkman.
Well, we traded for him. We gave you guys Denny McClain to get Eddie Brinkman.
Yeah, and a grateful nation thanks you.
Yeah, and he was famous for when we won the American League East under Billy Martin, when Billy Martin was our manager. Eddie Brinkman became world renowned as the guy who did the expletives on live television. This is a great fucking team. You know?
You know who else did that?
What's that?
Lasorda.
Oh,
Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah.
Is Jason here tonight, Mark? Because you have him on your list.
Oh, he is here. I thought I put him on. Let me get him back up here. There he is. There's Jason.
Nice
hey.
phone.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I appreciate the baseball talk. I've got a video of Kirby Puckett and Janet Reno that I'm not sure they knew was being filmed at the time. I'm looking forward to reviewing later on by myself.
You know, they asked Donald Trump what he thought of Kirby Puckett, and he said, well, I think he's great, especially when he sang with a Union Gap.
That's very funny. That's very funny.
Who did we hate from the watch? I was going to say Denny McClain, you know, because we were so happy to send him there, even though in '68 he'd been a toast of the league. But what, 2 years later, he'd worn out his welcome.
Well, you know,
it's a miracle he's alive.
The guy who beat us a lot back in the '60s was Frank Howard.
Yeah.
But then on that Billy Martin team I mentioned, he was a Tiger. He was a Tiger that year. Remember, we got him at the trade deadline in '72, and he was slugging for us. Then I liked him again. You know, so.
You know what they called Frank Howard's line drives?
Yeah.
Widowmakers.
Oh yeah.
Well, I can just remember that was back at the time when we had Gates Brown as our DH, and you could time Gates going around the bases with a sundial or a calendar. But
did Gates ever get voted into the Hall of Fame? Because
no,
he should have been for a guy.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think his whole stat and his whole career was kind of ruined by the designated hitter. Because most of his hits were before there was a designated hitter. Those were actually.
Do you remember how he used to be able to do the foul off? He could foul off 8-9 balls. I mean, the pitcher could be throwing stuff and he'd tap it foul.
Yeah, a lot of times they put him in for that reason. They knew if a pitcher got up to past 15 pitches, a reliever they're talking about, so they'd send Gator up there to foul off about a dozen, you know, to get this pitcher tired out for the guys, the Northrop, the K-lines, the freehands that were coming up. You know?
What I remember most about Gates Brown was he had this amazing propensity for rubbing his crotch just before he hit.
You say that like a bad thing.
That's right.
Well, someone had to do it, Sam, and I was too young. I mean, thank you, Susan.
A lot of players.
This baseball conversation's gone a different direction. So,
I'm sorry, Ma Barker. Jesus Christ!
I'm going to defend
you. Boys are out of hand.
I work full time, so I got to get up.
That's the second time she said that.
We'll see you later. Hey, Jason works full time. Gates Brown. If I can defend Gates Brown in his crotch scratching,
not scratching, rubbing.
Oh yeah.
Well,
you
did it with the bat once in a while too. He'd take the bat between his legs and sort of like on rainy days he would.
Who doesn't do that?
Well, half the time he'd be putting down one of the 2 chili dogs he was working on to go bat. I mean,
how about Dick Allen? They used to show pictures of Dick Allen smoking, Richie Allen smoking in the dugout. Remember those?
Yeah. You know who used to smoke a lot? Earl Weaver.
Yes,
Earl Weaver's another one.
Another one who was renowned for giving salacious interviews.
As much as I hated Earl Weaver when I was a kid watching the Tigers play the Orioles, I miss him now. I wish we had an Earl Weaver.
I wish we had a Billy Martin again.
I wish we had a Fritz Weaver.
I wish we had a Ron Luciano. I wish we had umpires like Ron Luciano.
I wish we had a Lucky Luciano.
Well, that too. What was Ron Luciano? I don't remember him. Is he just one of those?
He was an umpire who I always believed.
He was the first guy. He either home or first base. Second and third base, you didn't get a lot of action on him. But when he was at first, he had sort of like that pump action out call.
Okay.
I didn't like him because he made a habit of humiliating the players.
Wasn't there an that Earl Weaver was notoriously like they almost had to like separate these two with the jaws of life on more than one occasion?
They had it in for each other.
Yes, I can't remember the guy's name.
Those two guys. Yeah, Ron Luciano, that was him. Earl Weaver,
I also thought that Luciano, was gay.
Really?
Yeah, 46 years old, lives with his mother, not married.
All right. You're getting close. Yeah. You're getting close to my family, so let's calm down.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, by that time, my
7
mother
people
was
living at home with him now.
Like I say, by then my mother was gone. She left and said she wouldn't come back, and we said, "Fine, show us where the checkbook is." And that's about it. That's pretty much. That doesn't mean you can't be a good ump just because you go home and he's got the linen all nicely folded. Come on, Sam.
Does that apply to hanging out and watching Star Trek or something?
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, with Star Trek, because at least gay guys got laid. Whereas if you're into the Star Trek thing, that the whole, it's not. I mean, Kirk was the only one who got some action.
It might have been tougher for Luciano because baseball, of all the team sports, is probably the most overcompensating sport, in terms of machismo.
But you're basically holding on to a big dick if you get on base,
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Bat,
I think that was written on the clubhouse wall.
And you have these balls coming after you. I mean, it's all a very gay experience, I think.
I don't know. Try being the center and the quarterback. Getting the coordination right. On the hike and whatnot. And
what's this oiling your mitt? You know what I'm saying? What's the deal with oiling your mitt?
It keeps it loose.
It keeps it soft. Yeah,
it keeps it soft. Yeah.
If you can get
it doesn't crack.
Got it. You went to North Dakota, Andy. You know what it is to have long, cold nights. And do you want a cracked, cold mitt, or do you want a nice, warm, oiled?
And also, the gloves that were ebony, black don't crack.
That's
so
right.
You see,
and they look great even after 50 years.
I mean, when I coached, I told all the kids, if your dad or your grandpa played, bring in their gloves.
Yeah.
You don't need to spend $180 to get a glove.
When you played baseball, what athlete was on your team was on your glove?
Oh God.
I'm trying to think of his first name.
No.
It was Lefebvre. Who was I'm gonna look that up.
Lefebvre?
It wasn't Greg Lefebvre. What's that?
No.
Greg Lefebvre?
He sounded like a hockey player name.
Yeah.
Greg Lefebvre?
That sounds right. Let me look him up.
You remember Jimmy Pearsall?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Good enough for you guys? Good enough for you? Anyway, yeah. Jimmy Pearsall.
This is one of the highlights of baseball for me. Jimmy Pearsall gets up. It's a single, right? The next guy up is Chuck Cottier. He hits a ground ball to second. Pearsall's out. Cottier is standing on first. This happened 4 times in a row. Pearsall was thrown out of the game because after the 4th time, you could hear him all over the stadium in DC yelling, "Try getting on with me, you fuck." He was so mad. Guy went 4 for 4 and never made it to second because of Cottier. And Cottier's standing there like, I didn't think I did anything wrong.
Mark, can you remember the 1972 series, Detroit versus Oakland, the game where Campaneris, Bert Campaneris throws the bat.
Right.
We're in the death struggle with Oakland. At the time, Oakland was the focus of evil in the world.
Jim Lefebvre.
Okay. Who was the pitcher for that game?
For which game are we talking about now?
The 1972, where we're in I forget if it was the championship series or if it was the divisional.
We played the Oakland A's.
Yeah, Oakland A's. I think we're playing for the pennant, if memory serves.
They only had one series before the World Series back then.
Yeah, and that was bad. And Campaneris gets mad because he gets brushed back, and he throws the bat, and it turns into a melee. And I want to
He
say
got
who
brushed
was
back
pitching.
by Fred Lasher.
Okay.
By who?
Remember Fred Lasher? He was a side armor, which is why he was coming in
Yes.
so close to the
Close,
right-handers.
yes. And
Well,
yeah,
I was a
Let me make sure.
left-hander. My mitt was based on Lenin or Stalin. That was the name of my mitt. So.
Well, I just remember that series because I remember that was one of those games that was an afternoon game, and they had ruthlessly scheduled school that day. And
Yes.
I ran home
Yep.
just in time for that to break out. You know, it was a time when you could still live 5 minutes away from your school.
Well, Jim, do you guys remember Jim? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Jim Lefebvre.
Lefevre.
Yeah, he was with the
yes.
Jim Lefevre.
Yeah.
He was with the Dodgers. He was Rookie of the Year in '65, but he was with the. This is the only time it ever happened. The entire Dodger infield were switch hitters. Jim Lefevre, Wes Partner,
I knew
Maury
it.
Wills,
Oh, I see what you mean.
Maury Wills, and Jim Gilliam. Isn't that a wild stat?
Oh. Yeah. That was a 72. After that year, that was when the whole what is it? Was it you know, when the system was broken down and you could no longer hold on to players like they used to, like with Charlie Finley.
Free agency.
Thank you, Sam. God, I'm getting old.
Catfish Hunter.
Catfish Hunter, By the Blue.
Kurt Flood.
Yeah,
those are the guys that fought the what they called slavery.
It was Reggie Jackson was on the team. Again, it was Murderers Row. Absolutely amazing talent. And,
I remember every time the Tigers won either the pennant or a division or a playoff spot, they went to the playoffs or World Series. Something changed. They changed something about they won in '68 and '69. We went to East and West divisions in the two leagues and expanded by four teams. When they won in '72 and '73, they started the designated hitter.
Yeah.
When they won in '84 and '85, was all the players that the owners had colluded against became free agents.
That's when we had the monster Tom Monahan owning the team.
What do you think was a bigger transition? The designated hitter or free agency?
Oh, free agency. Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Free agency. Because that's when the money really began. Sam, you remember when you used to know members from the baseball team because they'd be working at the car lot in the off season, or they'd be selling real estate.
Are you kidding? I remember Ty Cobb saying, "Get off the field, Jew."
So did you?
No, you probably spat back at him.
I heard that. I distinctly heard Jew.
Yeah,
but you know but after the free agency, and then that spread to the rest of the professional teams, and I just remember people screeching about how much money these athletes are making, and it's like, well, you guys are paying to see them, you know. If these guys don't produce, you know, too bad. I mean, you come on,
Jim Bouton.
See them.
Jim Bouton won 21 games for the Yankees in 1964. He won 2 games in the World Series, and the Yankees tried to cut his salary.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You know.
So did he throw the old curse on him?
Johnny Unitas. You know, he one of the greatest quarterbacks of his, a guy who helped to establish the NFL, really, in a very real sense. And yeah, they dicked and screwed him over time and time again. Remember his last year, he's out there playing for the LA Rams at the time, just because he needed the money. So
I remember Gino Marchetti, who was a Hall of Fame football player. You know what he did during the off season? He was a lifeguard.
Oh,
okay, all right.
Al Kaline once said, who had a very long broadcasting career after he finished playing.
He sure did. Yeah. Is he dead?
Yes. He passed away a couple of years ago. But anyway, he was saying that he made more now in a month than he did in a season. He says, I do a whole season of broadcasting. That's as much as I made playing in my career. Because that's 6 months, a 6-month season. So I remember when he got paid $100,000, and he said, I really should not take this. No player is worth $100,000. And then I'm sure somebody should have said to him, "Wait 3 or 4 years. Wait till you see what happens."
Well,
The owner of
you
the
see what
San
happens.
Francisco Giants said, "I pay Willie Mays $110,000 a year, and I swear to God, if I could pay him another dime, I would."
Yeah.
The laughter could be heard all throughout the Bay Area.
Wow.
But you know,
Did you
Barry
hear?
Sanders.
Did you hear that they want to put Tom Brady instead of Lombardi on the Lombardi Trophy?
Why?
You're kidding.
Because he won it so many times?
Belichick wants that.
Yeah.
No one else wants that. And one of the Republicans wants Trump on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
sooner the better.
Yeah.
Wow.
As far as I'm
He gets
concerned,
his
you know,
own mountain.
the place. All right, let's compromise on this. We'll put him on Mount Rushmore, but because of the way those guys are like in a U shape, we'll put
Right.
Trump down below him, bent over forward, like he's like he's.
I was
getting
thinking more of put him on Mount Rushmore with his nose up my ass.
You know what? Then we'd have to get an artist to render your ass, and I'm not sure we can.
A privilege for any upcoming artist.
Yet a hard one to sell to the taxpayers.
Oh my goodness.
It depends on the aesthetic value.
Yeah. We agree that Sam Greenfield is an ass, but we don't want his
There's
ass.
nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's good.
Well, the worst part would be if you're actually going to do that, to hear me scream deeper.
Oh!
Well.
Wow.
Hello.
Arthur.
And me, I just and someone else just warbling, "I'm doing the best I can." You know, this is, you just have to kind of get by.
Arthur, a real woman could stop you from drinking. Yeah, well, she better be a real big one.
Hey, Jason, I thought about this last night when you weren't once again at the
meet. Yeah.
We have to do. Remember when you told the story of your younger days and wandering the adult bookstores at 4th Street?
The glory holes. Yes,
and I would break in with a rendition of "Good Morning Yesterday."
Yes, or those were the days, or you have a plethora of
that
tunes.
That was one of my favorite bits of the Unclub. That is an Unclub classic.
No, there's nothing like describing what it is to be 18 years old, wandering around in an adult bookstore with 50 or 75 cents, perusing the films on offer, and the little booths there. Now, Sam, you were never in any of these things. I know you don't know what these are about.
No.
But these used to have these shops where pornography would be displayed, and you could go into a booth and watch a short loop of a film. And sometimes there would be a hole between these booths where men would do things, terrible, awful, indescribable things that I still read about because I wrote them all down and treasure them. And so, yeah, it was a different time. And then after describing that, Mark would, well, there goes Sam. There you go. And Mark would come in with a sunny tune to really accentuate what it was. To be footloose, fancy free, and have giant uncircumcised penises stuck at you through the wall. Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting misty just thinking about it. So.
Kiss to build a dream. When I'm alone with my quarters.
You know, they moved me from one hospital room to the other.
They really? Oh.
What happened?
They had some kind of emergency surgery for somebody.
Oh, wow. Dear.
And I said, well, why do I have to move? And they said, well, we're having an emergency. And I said, I heard you, but why do I have to move?
Oh dear. How, do you ever hear them like whispering like things like, "I know Mengele is an unfortunate name for a doctor, but it's the man's name. What am I supposed to do?"
Yeah.
Well, there's Joseph Mengele Jr.
Yeah, I know. He works with, the Mengele family is a rich family in southern Germany that makes farm equipment.
We had a doctor in the neighborhood I lived in. I never went to him, but his sign was out on the post in the neighborhood where I lived when I was in college. His name was Dr. Smelzy, He was an ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Oh my goodness.
He said,
There's a guy
he said
who
that's
was
not
a
bad. My brother was a podiatrist.
there's a guy who was a state senator in New Hampshire, and his name was Dick Sweat.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that name. I think I've heard that name before.
Yeah.
He must have made a newscaster too.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Toe Jam.
I would have to change my name or something. I don't think we, although I don't know what was it. I'd have to, if my name was Larry Craig.
But wouldn't it be so much better if he went by the name Richard Sweat?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's an entertainer who goes by the name of Richard Cheese.
Like the football player Montez Sweat.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish we had gotten him. Chicago.
You know where he started, right?
With the Commanders. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, they're not changing the name.
Now, not that they've won a playoff game, probably not.
Yeah, they're not going to change the name.
Yeah.
What about the stadium though? Are they moving back to RFK or is it?
They're still talking about it.
Nah, they'll keep it at Commanders.
Oh, he's talking about the
I don't
stadium.
get it, but
Yeah.
Jason's talking about the Commanders though. They're still talking about RFK for a home field.
I don't know. It just seems like that stadium is so old at this point that wouldn't you be better to tear it down and put sort of a new one in its place?
The stadium?
Yeah.
That stadium was the site of more great games than I can tell you.
I can only imagine, but it's got to be what, 90 years? Seriously, what, 80, 90
well,
years
they're going to demolish it and rebuild it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just like Yankee Stadium. I couldn't imagine Yankee Stadium having to be torn down. But, you know.
They're going to put whale heads in there, though? RFK Stadium, are they going to put whale heads in there?
Oh, stop it. Leave RFK alone.
I'd like to, but he keeps coming back.
You know, it'd be RFK Stadium instead of having the hog heads that they had when they were Redskins.
We'll call
everybody could come with a spear with a boar's head.
Boar's head on it, or and then when
it's
there's a
RFK
tree, you'll put live mice and stuff into a blender, and then
blender. There you go.
Oh my!
They'll do that on the kickoffs. That'll be the sound that we used to tap our knees whenever the kickoffs were, because we didn't have marching bands in Little League. Every Little League team, they'd be tapping their knees. Do you remember that, Andy? Did you ever play football?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was once arrested for tapping knees, but it was a different. Well, never mind. Let's not go there right now. Not on a live broadcast.
I was lucky enough to be a part of a Little League team that we got to use Eastern Michigan Stadium.
So my son played there. Got to play there in he played 2 championship games when he was on an. Is
Michigan more popular than Michigan State throughout the state?
It depends on where you're at.
It depends. Michigan State started out as an agricultural school, so that's more of the outstate people that depend on agriculture for their industry.
So more of a cow college.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Whereas
so
Michigan,
Detroit and Ann Arbor are all really pretty much U of M. Anywhere beyond that is pretty much Michigan State.
Right. But the thing is, there's so many people in the Detroit, southeastern Michigan area, as opposed to the people in the rest of the state of Michigan. The aliens could land somewhere in northern Livingston County, take one look around and go, Zorg, what have you done? Get me out of here. Oh my God. Look, we can't even.
That was my next door neighbor. You stop telling about Zorg all the time, all right?
Talk to me, Zorg.
Zorg. Yeah.
Zorg, we have him over every Friday for fish.
Exactly. Don't you? If you ever bring me to this place again, I swear to God, I'll have you and your entire insect line wiped out. You don't. Let's go to Vegas where we can have some fun.
Yeah, he was a fourth for the euchre champion. He was really good with 3 fingers. That's pretty good.
There you go. Three fingers means that I'm holding aces, right?
Yeah.
You got to learn how to throw signals just right.
You always had to say you can't read our minds, not when we're playing. Okay, all right.
Which reminds me, Mars Attacks is available for free on YouTube, folks. So
there you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
What is?
You should
Mars
Attacks. Is that the one with Jack Nicholson?
Jack Nicholson. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Jack Nicholson.
Faye Dunaway. Was Faye Dunaway?
Martin Short.
Annette Bening.
Annette Bening. Yeah.
A host of aliens that have a really great diction. You know, Slim Whitman, the one scrawny kid from some 80s thing or other who plays the kid with the Slim Whitman van that gets the alien head to explode. Great movie. How the Academy could have overlooked that film, it doesn't make any sense to me.
You know what people don't realize is that Slim Whitman sold more records than the Beatles. But what they don't realize, it's because he worked in a record store.
There you go. God, remember one of my favorite. Oh my God, who was the guy who used to do this? Was it Slim Whitman or the other country star who used to do all the really sad songs about children dying in Santa Claus's lap, and every song was just a horrific tragedy with lots of steel guitar and.
Talking about Hoyt Axton?
No, he's close. Hoyt Axton wrote "The Pusher," which is one of the greatest songs ever done by Steppenwolf. You know, again, a great writer, like Jimmy Webb from the New Christie Minstrels, who no one remembers, but he wrote Galveston. By the time I get to Phoenix, was that a Wichita Lineman? Again, great writer. Oh, Daydream Believer was one.
And Oliver wrote Gene.
Yep. God, Gene. Who wrote that?
Hey, Marianne Faithfull died this week.
Can you believe it? She was only 78.
Of what, embarrassment?
Oh, come on, Sam. Be nice to Marianne. She had to sleep with Mick Jagger more than once.
I have a problem with women who are self-described ethereal.
Very funny.
But
I had a lovely time with Keith, but he was a little grabby. Well, you're a whore.
Yeah, well, you should have met Anita Pallenberg, who was one of the
God,
reptilian human beings.
I haven't heard that name. Oh my God, since I was
not since your blind date with her back in what, 74? I mean,
oh my God, that's amazing.
Picking her up at the Hofbrau outside of Chicago or in Cleveland. I mean, that woman was
man. The last time I saw Anita Pallenberg, she was in drag at the Steuben Day Parade.
Steuben Day Parade.
Steuben
Day Parade. Welcome to Germany into Steuben Day Parade. Yeah.
Hey,
now
show business.
Your hands and go. Yeah.
You have papers. I suggest you roll them.
Yes.
Oh God! It always goes back to Lily von Stupp, doesn't it? I mean, that's where it always ends.
He's too much man for you. I know.
They keep coming and going and coming and going.
You're through. Verblunget. Verfeel.
Burst my balloons. There we go.
Hey, cowboy, are you in show business?
Why, no, ma'am.
Then get your feet off the stage. Who can forget the when they're saying, "We want you darkies to sing a song for us," and they go into some Cole Porter.
Let's just face it, I'm pooped.
I'm pooped. I'm tired. She's tired. I don't understand. She's tired.
Tired of playing the game 2, 3, 4.
Sounds like steam's escaping.
You understand? Sounds like steam escaping. There we go.
You can't do that to Bunny. Yeah, again, another movie that
I work for Mel Brooks.
He didn't know how to end the movie, so he just threw whatever he had at the screen, and it all works out. How you know?
Listen, they're keeping me until the bunker scene.
Where are you parked?
The same thing in
the sheriff is a ding, ding, ding.
And no sidewinding cricker cracker.
Oh, you do have the good taste not to mention this, right?
Sorry.
Mongo just pawned in Game of Life.
Mongo pawned in Game of Life. Alex Karras.
Yes. Again, another Academy Award.
Miss, excuse me. Hello?
Hello.
I need your help.
He's
Okay.
calling.
I'll be
too.
right back. Okay,
All right.
3 things. One, I don't have a
Yeah, who knows what he's gonna say? Yeah, you better mute him. God
Yeah, I
only
got him
knows.
muted. I got him muted.
He's gonna ask for Jello or a bedpan, maybe both.
Or both.
Yeah.
Could you give me an enema?
Usually I gotta pay good money for this.
I want a Jello and a bedpan. Oh no, you don't understand. I want the Jello in the bedpan. I'm going to sit in it.
There we go.
I'm gonna have myself a cold sugary enema.
I have
God, that'd be a
hemorrhoids.
great band name.
Please. There we go.
Great. That's a great 80s band, Mark. Sugary Enema. Oh my God.
Sugary enema.
Sort of
I can't help myself.
Oh my God, this is going downhill.
I take the pudding down from the shelf.
I have been working on some new rant material, people,
Good.
and just trying to get something together. And last night was particularly frustrating because I go out to the track. I spend an hour prepping the vehicle, doing the paperwork, doing the things you got to do. I get in the car, it makes a big popping noise, and a big sign comes on. It says drive mode disabled, and it's like, really? I do all this, and
is this an electric car that says that puffs out?
Yeah, it's like a lot of things, when you're developmental vehicles. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And
oh, look, we're seeing Sam Sitzbath here.
Oh no!
Oh, luxury. Oh.
Yeah, well,
they're about to recreate. They're about to recreate the George Costanza and his mother scene in the hospital.
Oh my God!
George, I look over and you're doing this. Oh my God! Yeah.
That was that was the contest episode, right?
Yeah, that was a contest.
Who could go the longest? Oh God!
The episode involving shrinkage, I have to admit, because I was still using drugs at the time.
Shrinkage.
And it shrinks.
Woman, about shrinkage? Why?
We're trying to explain shrinkage to apparently someone had seen George after he'd been in the pool for some period of time. And
then they want Elaine. Then they try to get Elaine to tell her friend who saw George naked about shrinkage, and she goes, "What?" And so she doesn't know what it is. So they have to explain to her what shrinkage is. And the best line in the whole scheme was where she goes, "How do you guys live with those things?"
I have a lesbian cousin who asks me the same question all the time. She has absolutely no use for men. I mean, it's like, what? Other than the fact you were used in some sort of generative fashion, other than that, you can all go. You're all dismissed. We don't need you anymore. Oh no, what can I say? Can't blame her. Well, oh my goodness. So I get. Is it too soon to start making jokes about the Vic Murrow heliport that's been established near Washington D.C. or would that be in bad
Vic
taste?
Murrow heliport. You know what?
Too
you
soon?
can do it at the Unclub because no one there will know what you're talking about. So go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Vic Murrow heliport. I don't understand. It's just
all these references is going to hit nobody. It's like nobody.
We gotta go on tour in an old folks' home.
Jason Grand is Ipsy's own Dennis Miller. Just all these things off the wall that nobody gets.
Nobody gets.
Nobody gets.
There we go.
And that's right. Well, Dennis Miller and Louis Black were two of my favorite comedians.
They're two greats. Two greats, that's for sure.
Louis Black who could just get wound up. Belushi used to do a good rant, remember? But he would never know how to end them.
Who does a good rant, but he doesn't do long ones, is Bobby Slayton. Did you ever see Bobby Slayton?
Yes. Yes.
Bobby Slayton did a good rant.
Yep.
And Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was known as a rant comic.
Yes, I love Sam. And if you ever want to really see something that when you can see how bad drugs genuinely are, Sam had to do a TV special, a video special, whatever. He was contractually engaged to do it. He did this just before he went into rehab, and he is just blown out of the water, and it is horrible. it's car wreck funny, if that makes any sense to you. You know what I mean? It's
Is that the one where you have the big band behind him?
I don't it might have been. I mean, it's like 90 minutes long, and he's like sleepwalking through his material. I mean, he's having the usual, his wife and her sister, are bouncing around, but absolutely nothing's hitting. And you're like, wow, to think that a couple of years ago this guy was filling arenas.
Yeah.
Who's the guy? Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg. He was one-liners. He wasn't a rant comic. He did one.
I know, but he was a brilliant comedian who destroyed his career with drugs. Well, he destroyed his life eventually.
Destroyed his career. Destroyed his life. In fact,
in
fact, he was able to do his career with drugs. It's just that afterwards, one night, he did too many.
Yeah. I remember many people would say that he'd have like a 2 or 3 night engage or a 2-set or a 3-set night, and going out doing 3 sets at a big comedy club. But by the third set, he'd be so whacked he'd be awful.
I never did when I was working on the road, and of course, it's really weird because when Chili and I started doing these dojos, helping the young comics. Oh, Sam's back. Let me get his sound back on here.
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, guys, I had to have my blood pressure checked.
That's fine. That's fine. That's part of the deal. But anyway,
we were hoping it was a catheter, but never mind that.
All these people come to these open mics to try out the material, and
Right.
I go, don't let that be the judge. If it's something that you think is good, and having us here to tell you it's good, trust the other comics more than the audience. You got to run that in front of a real audience, not an open mic audience. Get a guest spot at one of the.
Although there are times, when they're like Unclub, when we have some people in there. An Ipsy audience is really good, dude. A nice room full of Ipsy people. That you get some good feedback from those folks. Because they do.
The paid nights where we get more. The paid nights where we get more than 60 people paying to see us. Yeah, those are usually good shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a few years back, you had a lineup of comedians that I swear you could have taken to Ridley's or maybe even a few other places. You had at least 3 or 4. Really, good people. I mean, what's her name? She's moved on. Oh, the girl, the one who dates the Germans.
Vivian Burgett.
Vivian Burgett. Yeah, she's in Chicago.
She's in Chicago now.
Oh, that old tramp.
I would take her somewhere.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, she's got a wonderful dark sense of humor. She's thick-skinned. So she can dish and she can take it. And, that's what I loved about a lot of the 80s comedians. I mean, those women, if you tried to heckle them, they weren't going to go crawl off and cry. If you had tried to do that to the goddess, she would have gutted you live on stage. Judy Tenuta would have absolutely gutted you. And done great while doing it, too.
She was a champ, that's for sure.
Mark, do you remember Abby Stein?
Comedy Store?
Yes, I do.
Some guy was heckling her once, and she said, "You're just jealous because my nose is bigger than your schwanz."
Actually, you know what? With Abby Stein, that's not too much of an insult.
Did Judy go?
No, it's not.
What, Andy?
Comedy Store? Did Judy go through the comedy store? Did Judy Tenuta go through the comedy store system?
No, she was a road comic out of Chicago.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I just remember that like Rodney Dangerfield had her on.
She was very sweet.
Yeah, and she just blew up after that. And this at a time when you're having Kinnison, Andrew Dice Clay,
Chicago. When Sam and I were coming up, Chicago, Boston, and Frisco were the 3 a second level tier
go-to places.
Yeah, it was. What? Those were the places you went, and they weren't expensive like New York and LA to live, but you could get a lot of work in Boston, Chicago.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Why not New York and LA? Because that's where all the
I made a living for 5 years in Boston, after night after night.
Now, New York and LA were great, but they were crowded and expensive.
Okay.
And you couldn't make you quit your day. When you moved to Boston, Chicago, or San Francisco, you had basically quit your day job. You were doing comedy full time.
Right.
and for sort of the offshoots of that, San Francisco led to the scene in Seattle, and really to some degree Denver.
Seattle's a great city.
Vegas was an animal of their own. Chicago had Detroit, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Indianapolis as sort of satellites.
Well, didn't you have Robert Shrippa running a room or two out there in Vegas?
Who?
Steve Shrippa, the guy who was on The Sopranos, and then
he was.
Yeah, he did the what was the name of that club?
Was it the Dirty Show or the?
No, that was what was the name of that damn club? It's just god damn it, it closed.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. Hold on, we're gonna find it.
It was on the Strip.
Yep. What's the club that Steve Sherpa from the Sopranos managed in Vegas?
Now, it was my understanding that when he did with his shows, he would tell everyone, listen, this is very adult humor, so you wouldn't be shocked by, the sort of, well, the material the comedians were doing.
He was Steve Sherpa was the showroom manager for the Riviera Hotel and
the Riv.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about Andy Wayne?
No.
This is the only comic who, if I heard he had died, I would have held a luncheon. Okay.
All right, we're at 8.5 minutes, by the way.
Okay, I'll make this. This will be a 2-minute story.
Right.
So I moved to Las Vegas to do a radio show, right? And my second day there, I met Steve Sherpa. Shook his hand, nice guy, everything's fine. The next day, I get a call from a guy named Andy Wayne, who said he was half Jewish, which is why he only wore half a Star of David. So now you know he's a moron.
Right.
He also introduced himself as, did I ever tell you I smacked Seth Schultz's wife, who ran a club called Pips? So he was a complete idiot. So he says to me one day, he says, who are you going to have on your show the first week? The radio show. And I said, well, let me see, I'm going to have both senators, Harry Reid and Richard Bryant, and I'm going to have Jay Leno, and I'm going to have Wayne Newton. And I said, I think that's about it. And he goes, well, I'd like to be on the show. And I said, did you hear what I just said? No. No. I said, I'm having both national no, I'm having both senators. So he said, well, could you do me a favor? I'm thinking, oh, God, if it doesn't involve euthanasia, then no. So he says, listen, would you put in a word for me with Steve Sherpa? I said, I've never seen your act. He said, but would you do it anyway? I said, I've never seen your act. I said, send me a tape, and if I like it, I'll pass it along. He calls Sherpa and says that I recommended him.
Oh man!
And I don't know if you know that Sherpa is a nice guy, but he's very blunt.
Yeah.
And he says, "Hey, I met Sam Greenfield for 20 seconds last night. I'm not using him to endorse you."
Right.
And then Andy Wayne says, "Really? Well, I know where you live, and I know where your kids go to school."
Holy shit!
Whoa!
So the next day, I call Sherpa, and Sherpa doesn't know that I wish this guy was dead.
Right.
And he says, he screams at me, he yells at me, and I said, I swear to God, I never, ever, So I told Andy Wayne, I said, I want you to do me a favor. Get a piece of paper, write down my phone number, and then burn it. So then, 2 years later, I'm in New York with my wife, and Mark Maron is doing a one-man show in the Village. This is before he became Mark Maron.
Right.
Gotcha.
And Andy Wayne says, I have a great idea. And I'm looking at him. He's holding a dozen roses. And I said, what's your idea? He says, just before Mark starts the show, I'm going to run on stage and give him these roses and kiss him. I said, I will choke you to death. I will put my arm around your throat and I will choke you to death.
Yeah. No, that's...
I've never... Just the stupidest human being that's ever put on shoes. Oh, my God.
And
so that's my story, and it only took 2.5 minutes.
Well, there you go.
There we go.
Glad to hear it.
Good.
Yeah. So would you mind bumping Jay Leno so I can get a few minutes on your show, Sam? You know.
You know what I loved about Leno? If you ask Leno, would you do a bumper for me? Would you say, "Hey, this is Jay Leno, and please listen to the Sam Greenfield"? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No,
he seems like
Letterman would go. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, whatever he had to do to promote his show. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Never complained. And I'll tell you who else was like that. Wayne Newton. He goes, "Hey, everybody, This is Wayne Newton. When I'm not knocking him dead on the strip, I'm listening to my old buddy Sam Greenfield." I said, he didn't have to do that.
Dave Coulier is from Detroit, and yet I've heard from some of the folks up at Ridley's and some other comedians that when he was back in Detroit doing a set, he was an absolute jerk to everybody. Didn't want to be seen, wouldn't talk to anyone.
That's correct. That's correct.
And I'm like, what are you doing that for? What's the point? That's like your home people.
I was working at Stanford's Comedy House in Kansas City. Great club. And Coulier comes in, and he's going to be there the next week. And he goes, so he said, "Are you going to perform now in your little show?" I said, "I know I'm under 5'9", but I'm not a dwarf." I said, "What do you mean, my little show?" And he goes, "Well, I said, "No, I don't know." I said, you and I have something in common. We're both headlining.
Yeah.
So why don't you just leave it at that?
Yeah, I can't talk about it. Dave and I go way back, and we've always been on very good terms.
That's what I heard.
Dave has stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma right now. He's just,
well, that's not good at all.
He's going into very intensive chemotherapy this week.
Oh my God! Well, I wish him nothing but good health. I mean it. I do.
I hear you.
I have cancer now. So,
anybody
jealous?
I always just whenever I lose a few pounds and think, well, stage 4 is slimming.
By the way, I went from I think I told you this. I went from 161 to 142.
Yeah.
It's still 142.
Wow.
Well, at least you're not losing more.
That's the only thing thinner are my chances of getting out of this hospital.
Well, you gotta get somebody to help you out,
No, I'm okay now.
Okay, I thought you broke.
They gave me some painkillers, and what's that thing? Heroin. So that seems to be working. No, I'm okay. I'm able to move around with less pain, and they're going to do a little bit more, therapy.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, guys, I'm going to go now because duty calls.
Oh well, if you can hold on 35 seconds. Anyway, so thanks everybody for tuning in. Look at the bottom of your screen right there. I got
turn off your camera. Turn off your camera.
Who needs a camera? Oh shit! Yeah.
Turn off your camera.
Okay.
Fade him out. There you go. Okay.
Anyway, I just want to let everybody know that we're here every Monday night at 8 o'clock. Look, I'm going to leave this until the end until we close out completely. Click the like button on YouTube here. Subscribe to our YouTube page with the subscribe button. I couldn't tell you where it is on your browser. And that's our YouTube page. Go ahead and like us there and do all that stuff. Get us more viewers, all that crap. Anyway, I got to wrap it up here. Got to go pick up my daughter. We'll see everybody next week. See you later, fellas.
All right. Hey, guys, hang on for just 1 second. Waiting for the music to go out.
Got 45